thank you very much. You are attending our our event tonight. First of all, would you like to introduce yourself with a few words? I think it would be great.
So my name is Federico Mori. I'm the head of cabinet of Vice President Picerno. I assist her since 2014, and I'm actually now working with her and helping her in the work as shadow rapporteur for the directive on violence against women and domestic violence. On top of course, all the rest of the work that we do in the Parliament, but this is our main, let's say, task we are working on together at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. That's very interesting, and particularly on the topic of tonight. After seeing this short film, what would be the first words that come to mind? What would be the main message that you can keep from the film?
Well, it was really interesting to see the reactions of course the people that were watching the short film here in the room in the Parliament. But what I found interesting about the film was also the exchange that the girls have with the boys, because as we say very often, also in our work on the directive, for example, this is not violence against women is not a problem of women. It's a problem of all the society, and considering that 99% of the time the violence is perpetrated by men or boys, I think it's also them who should realize that this fight also mainly is about them and not women's. And I found it very interesting in the film that there are so many boys, because they're quite young, not men, let's say, that deal with the subjects. And this, I think, it's a very important thing. It's a very it's a very hopeful thing to see this engagement, and I think we really have to work on this.
Okay, thank you very much. So you also said that on top of that working, you mentioned the directive that the film is drawn from. How do you think this film could directly relate? I mean, the link is pretty obvious, but what would you say about the directive and how this film and the directive can complement each other, maybe?
Well, I have to say, first, the directive is not yet finalized. We are still working on a final text together with the Council of the Member States, because we have two co-legislators in the European Union. So what we want as Parliament, what the MEPs have voted in July, is a bit different than what the Member States want from this directive. So we're still negotiating, but of course it's very interesting what the topics that they touched during the film, and they are at the core of the directive, about the consent, about the cyber violence, about what women feel when they are called something, or when they feel certain pressure in the society. Everything of what has been said in the film really relates to the directive, but I think it's also important for the work of the Parliament and for the MEPs in order to grab these issues and try to turn them into and try to solve them, let's say, through the pieces of legislations that indeed the Parliament and the European Union is called to approve and then implement, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your insightful words, and thank you for taking time from the cocktail and the event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for taking time to do this small interview. Could you introduce yourself with just a few words for the camera, please?
Yes, I'm Gerhard Amischer. I'm the recent president of the Conference of INGOs of the Council of Europe.
Thank you very much. So you're just attending our screening event tonight at the European Parliament. Could you give us just a few thoughts after seeing the short documentary on the very heavy topics that we just saw?
I think what did strike me the most was that several times it was quoted from the directive planned for the EU on against violence against women, that no religion and no culture justifies violence, and especially violence against women. So now I'm not that young anymore, and I just remembered that when I was a child in Austria, we had a debate on femicides, which at that time were happening in the milieu of what we then called Gastarbeiter, the immigrants of the time from southern Italy, Yugoslavia, and later Turkey. And that in Italy there was a special legislation which said if it was killing out of honor, reasons of honor, it would be dealt more softly, and the perpetrators would get away with a very, very small penalty. And that judges in Austria were going the same direction and saying it's in the culture, so we have to accept that. Mm-hmm. It was a raging debate at the time, and today we have the same debate again. And in the meantime, we always looked 50 years ago on migrant milieus, and we still look on migrant milieus. Mm-hmm. But in the same time, we did never look on the violence in the families at home, in our own culture, in our Austrian or German families. And only recently we started to see that this always has been an extreme problem, but nobody talked about it. And it was not in the media, and it was not in the politics. We have one of the highest rates on femicide in the European countries. And only very recently in politics we started to really say something needs to be done. And really thinking back and being a historian, maybe I tend to think more about the past than other people. But thinking back 50 years now, or 40 years, I feel desperate that we still have to do the same debates, have the same discussions today.
Well, thank you very much for those very insightful words, and thank you for attending this evening tonight. Merci d'être avec nous ce soir pour cette petite interview. Je vais d'abord vous laisser vous présenter pour la caméra.
Ok, je suis Théoman, secrétaire général de l'ASSEDEL.
Merci beaucoup. Donc après avoir vu le documentaire ce soir et avoir vu toutes les personnes qui sont venues à cet événement, quels seraient les mots que vous aurez, le message que vous voudriez faire passer vraiment ce soir?
Sinon, c'était un projet qu'on voulait réaliser depuis presque un an, d'ici là. Le plus important, c'était de défendre les droits de l'homme ou des droits humains, surtout des droits des femmes, par le biais de l'art. C'était ça notre objectif de le faire, parce que sinon, comme association, on soumet pas mal de rapports, on prépare pas mal de soumissions, mais le plus important, c'est l'utilisation de l'art comme un objectif, là, comme un outil, entre guillemets, afin de défendre les droits de l'homme, parce que dans l'ère moderne, le plus attractif, entre guillemets, c'est l'art, afin de diffuser nos messages. C'est pour cette raison, à mon avis, c'était entre guillemets, un début très important pour notre association. Je vous remercie pour votre attention et pour vos efforts.
Merci beaucoup, merci à vous. Good evening.
Good evening.
I think maybe my first question would be to introduce yourself in a few words and say how you are related to the project.
My name is Cemil Yıldız. I am an artist, director and performance artist. So this is my first project as a director. I'm an actor for 14 years. So last 2 years I've been working on being a director. To be able to show something and put something on the screen. Because I believe that as an actor you can create a world, you can get in it. But as a director, you can create a universe and you can put the world in it. So like tonight, one of the most important issues that we have to focus on it, violence against women. That's what I did as my first project. I believe that if we can do, for example, on the screen, if the movies or the projects or the documentary can talk instead of us, I believe that we can touch more people. That's why.
Okay, thank you very much. So after projecting the movie tonight and screening it to everyone and seeing everyone's reaction, what would be your reaction? What would be the main message that you want to convey for everyone to see?
My message is so simple. I believe that we have spent enough time to talk about there's a violence against women, and everybody believed that. I think it's time to take an action. So it was my action, in my opportunity, my capacity, my possibility to do something. So I think my message is it's time to take action.
Thank you.
Yeah, very well.
Thank you very much. Bonsoir, merci beaucoup d'être avec nous ce soir. Je vais d'abord vous laisser vous présenter pour la caméra en quelques mots.
Bonsoir, alors je m'appelle Mohamed Enassildiz. J'ai joué dans ce film Mimosa réalisé par Jamil Izdiz et aujourd'hui on est ici pour présenter le film avec Jamil qui est mon oncle aujourd'hui. Voilà.
Merci beaucoup pour cette présentation. Donc après avoir vu le film ce soir, après avoir assisté à l'événement, toutes les personnes qui sont venues, quel serait le message que vous voulez vraiment transmettre et les mots que vous auriez maintenant?
Les mots que j'aurai maintenant, aujourd'hui, la violence faite aux femmes, etc., c'est devenu quelque chose de très banal, d'un niveau assez élevé. Et nous aujourd'hui, c'est toutes les personnes que vous avez vues dans le film, ce sont tous mes amis, très proches. Et aujourd'hui, en fait, on a vraiment voulu faire un truc naturel qu'on avait dans le cœur, qu'on pensait vraiment sur le coup. Et vraiment, c'est un truc qu'aujourd'hui, il faut vraiment faire attention. Que c'est bon, ça suffit quoi. C'est trop. Ça, vraiment, il y a un moment, il faudra faire une marche arrière, stopper le truc et vraiment se dire bon, là je déconne. C'est pour ça qu'aujourd'hui, nous, on a décidé de faire ce film avec Jamil qui nous a présenté. On était tous partants, mais à fond, 100%, parce que c'était vraiment un truc qui nous tenait vraiment à cœur. Aujourd'hui, il n'y a pas grand monde qui en parle, et en plus, en étant des jeunes d'entre 20 ans et 25 ans, c'est rare de voir des personnes faire ce genre de truc alors qu'on n'a aucune expérience, on a vraiment zéro. Et il nous a dit, venez, essayez. En plus, sur ce sujet-là, vraiment, c'est un truc qui nous a vraiment intéressés. Et je suis très content et j'espère qu'un jour, vous aurez l'occasion de le voir.
Bien, merci beaucoup pour ces mots et pour votre engagement, juste de manière générale. Bonne soirée.
Alors là, il a fait quelque chose qui peut s'adresser à tout le monde, qui peut repenser à ce sujet.
Yeah, it was a great event tonight here. So this Mimosa film, I think, will emphasize the violence against women, and ultimately, I hope that such events will continue in the future. Whether with the patronage of European Parliament or other European institutions, and ASSEDEL will continue supporting these projects. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Ça m'a plu vraiment. Et je pense que si en 3 mots on devait résumer, comme spectateur, le message était à la fin. C'est-à-dire, on doit commencer par... Ils ont discuté, les jeunes, de beaucoup de choses, beaucoup de solutions, propositions, mais à la fin, on prend le message qui dit « Commençons par nous-mêmes ». C'est ça le message. Alors ça, c'est que le commencement. Si j'ai reçu ce message, je dois commencer par moi-même d'abord. Merci.
C'était une très belle présentation et représentation surtout des violences faites aux femmes, je trouve, à travers ce court-métrage. Surtout la fin, c'était un très bon message qui a été passé juste avec des gestes. Donc voilà, surtout le message qui est passé à la fin, c'est ce qui m'a le plus marqué. Et voilà, de manière générale, j'ai beaucoup aimé les scènes qui ont été choisies pour ce court-métrage. C'était un très bon projet et bravo à tous ceux qui ont travaillé derrière ce projet.
Merci.